Hey writers, today we are continuing our work with finding and testing a thesis. So we've read through our second story, Thank You Ma'am by Langston Hughes, and we're going to work to pull out a thesis statement that we could use to write our literary essay. So you may be asking, first of all, wait, what is a literary essay? Because that is the topic of this writing unit. So a literary essay, what we will be working to write, it's writing an essay about a book or about a short story. So in order to do that, we pick out a big idea, which in most cases is a theme. That's why we're working with theme. And then we write an essay with evidence to support that theme, to prove that that is the theme. So we're over here. We've talked about different ways to write a literary essay, and we're really focusing in right now on finding a big idea or finding that theme to turn it into a thesis statement. And then we go on to test that thesis statement by asking questions to make sure it's strong enough to actually write an essay about. Because there are thesis statements that you can't really write an essay about. So today, there's just one important idea that will be the center of our literary essay. It's only one sentence long, but the whole essay is built on it. This is the thesis. Our goal today is to reread pieces of Thank You Ma'am to help form our thesis statements. So I'm going to show you some work that I've done with Thank You Ma'am. You should have already read through it and listened to it. You should have also watched the short movie that some actors portrayed acting out this story as well. So I've done those as well, and I've gone back into my text, and what I've done is I've taken some notes on certain ideas that I think might help me form a thesis. So I'm going to show you some of that work that I've done on here now. So there were a couple pieces of this that really struck out to me. This is the organizer we'll be filling out in just a moment. But here, so I was reading through, and they're kind of just setting up the scene here. This boy is robbing the older woman. He tries to take her purse, but it's so heavy that he drops it, and she catches him, basically. But then over here, I noticed, I underlined a part here, and your face is dirty. This is where the woman is pointing out that her face is dirty, saying he should wash it tonight, and then says, if you were my son, I'd teach you right from wrong. The least I can do now is to wash your face. Then she asks, are you hungry? I put a bracket over here because I thought this whole section was important, and especially the your face is dirty part, because I wrote a note over here on the side. He's not being taken care of. So he's clearly struggling. Nobody has helped take care of him, so she actually ends up taking him home. So I think that's going to be a super important section. If you think that's important too, you can write this down and use it for your thesis, or you can find your own sections as well, because yours should not be identical to mine. But as I continued reading, she takes him home, and this is where they're starting to really have a conversation, and they're talking. And she finds out that he is pretty hungry, and she even says, you must have been hungry if you tried to snatch my pocketbook. And then he also said, there's nobody home at my house. So to me, that's saying his family isn't really around, so that ties in with my idea of he's not being taken care of. So then she goes on to feed him. So what I'm noticing is that even though she was really mad at the beginning, she's starting to take care of him. It's almost as if she's forgiving him for what he's done, because she's realizing that something is wrong, something's going on here. And then as I keep reading, they're still having a conversation. She finds out really he just wanted to buy blue suede shoes. That must be the cool shoes, like him going and buying a pair of like Jordans right now, something like that. So, but then over in this section here, he ends up asking her, do you need somebody to go to the store, maybe to get milk or something? So I put a note that he really is a good kid. He might just be going through some hard times. And they're so hard that he feels like he needs to steal to get by. So these ideas to me are leading me to a theme. So if one pops into your head, that's awesome. But remember, reading and writing go hand in hand. Most of you have probably already seen this at this point in our literacy block, our theme topics. Feel free to see if one of these matches determination, hard work, acceptance, if it matches our story, family, loneliness. A lot of these could work. There's really no right answer, no one right answer, but there are definitely some that do not fit. And once you pick one out, maybe see if it can connect to a theme statement. Because remember from our other video, a theme is not just one word, it's expanded into a statement. So we have a lot of possibilities here. Accept others' differences, hard work will be rewarded, don't judge people by their appearance. He was at first just a boy who is stealing her pocketbook. And what we're going to do is move to our 4-square organizer, and we're going to start to fill these pieces in. So I'm going to write mine. Yours will not look identical. But what I want to start with is the idea of forgiveness, because that's something that I had specifically mentioned as I was reading through. So I'm going to write my one word up here, and then I'm going to expand it into a thesis statement or into my theme statement. And I'm going to say, sometimes it is better to forgive someone for their actions. So here I'm talking about the boy stealing, because you never know what they may be going through. Had she not taken the time to talk to him, she would never know that he's struggling at home, maybe that he's not eating, his family's not around. She would have just thought he was a boy on the street trying to steal from her. So I think my big idea in this story is that sometimes it's better to forgive someone for their actions, because you never know what they may be going through. And then I'm going to go back and fill in, do I have supporting details for this? Would I have enough evidence? I'm going to go back to my story, to the 3 things that I had underlined, because I think those are my supporting details. The first part, he's not taken care of. So I'm going to write that in my first box. If I had to expand on that, I could. His face is dirty. He doesn't have money to buy the new shoes that he needs. He's not really eating. His family's not home. So there's a lot of supporting details there. So he's not taken care of. The second thing that I went to underline was over here. His family isn't around. Could I go in and elaborate on that? Absolutely. His family's not around, so he's not being supervised. He's out on the streets trying to fend for himself, right? So family not around. And then my last one here, this ties into the forgiveness piece. I said he really is a good kid. He's just going through hard times. And again, I could elaborate on what's going on there. So I'm going to say, really a good kid going through hard times. And just like that, my thesis organizer, my essay organizer is all set. So if I were to say, I'd really like to write my literary essay about this story, I would already have my thesis statement and 1, 2, 3 body paragraphs with my supporting details. So it really sets us up to write a nice literary essay. When you grab your organizer, you need to make sure picking out a thesis is something that you will be able to find enough evidence for in your story. So if I were to ask you, what in the story made you think of that thesis, and you can't think of anything, then maybe it's not a strong thesis. You need to be able to pick out evidence in the story to support it. So what you will be doing right now is finding your theme, writing it in the middle of your organizer, just like I had shown you and just like we did with 11. Then you're going to find 3 pieces of evidence from your text to support that thesis. When you're done, you need to hand it in to me today. Please make sure I get copies of all of these. Happy writing!